Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Dbacks Dispatch here with the trio, Brandon, Brett, and Gabe. Um, one more day. One more day, gentlemen, and this All-Star break is over. I swear it feels a whole lot longer than 4 days. Like my entire routine in the evenings and afternoons is completely thrown off when this team doesn't have games. Like it because I'm so used to it. Like I look at the schedule, I'm like, okay, so it's a 4 o'clock game, it's a 6 o'clock game, and then once the game starts, like I'm all like focused. So it was kind of weird. I didn't really watch the home run derby, and I heard I didn't miss anything other than Pete Alonso is a thief, by the way, blackmailed Major League Baseball. And yeah, I heard the
Not,
All-Star
not not
game.
officially, more of a joke, but still.
Yes, I know. It's sarcasm, everyone. Mets fans, don't come after us. It's sarcasm.
Just want to make sure, for legal reasons.
And then, yeah, I guess I heard the All-Star game. Paul Skeens looked really good from what I hear. Ketel Marte did end up getting a hit. I did call it because I did tweet out because his at bat, initially they called it an error, but it's 110 off the bat. I'm like, that should not be an error. No one makes that play. And then later they changed it to a hit, so it was good to see that Ketel got a hit in the All-Star game. So I guess, Gabe, what did you do on your days off away from D-backs baseball?
I went to the movies. I went to go see Castle in the Sky, like the Studio Ghibli movie. Instead of because I don't care about the home run derby at all. I don't care about that fraud Alonso, and also and the actual All-Star game again. I just tuned in for Paul Skeens. After that, I just did some yard work because I kind of had better things to do. I was not interested in the All-Star game this year. Like it's literally just the Phillies against the American League. Like I don't care.
Yeah. Brett, how was your days off from baseball?
I mean, I kind of agree with you, Brandon. It was definitely weird. My nights were not the same. My nights were a little strange. It was good, though. I got to catch up on some audiobooks and then some YouTube videos that I missed, over the weekend and get some house stuff done. But the home run derby, I watched most of the home run derby. It was definitely, I like the new format. At least I like the 40 pitches, the time limit, either make it a little bit longer or maybe just don't have a time limit. I see you turning on college football over there.
No, I'm actually turning it on so I can have a white background on my monitor so it lights my face.
No, I'm just messing with you. But I kind of like the format. It's still a little bit. I think just this year benefited or was a little hurt by not having the.
Also, see, like not even just my face now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like there were some good home run hitters, but I think that ballpark is just a weird setup to hit home runs in for a home run derby. It just doesn't seem like the greatest, but it was cool. The All-Star game, bring back, each team's jerseys, please. I would watch the All-Star game way more. Yo, what up, Shook, by the way? I would watch the All-Star game way more just if I could actually see the D-backs jerseys. It'd be cool. It's easier to pick out who's who on the field and whatnot. Definitely watched Paul Skeens. He was really fun. Like that was one of the main things I wanted to even watch. He was electric. It was it was kind of the typical in my life. The NL always gets dominated by the AL, it seems. So it's kind of more of that. But it was good. I'm glad that we're finally back to some normalcy and we're gonna get some D-backs baseball here tomorrow. And I believe it's an earlier game.
It is a 4 p.m. Arizona time first pitch, so it is earlier.
I figured a Friday Cubs game. Usually they do those around maybe it's the weekends they do early games. So.
Oh no! Oh, I was completely wrong. It's like 11:20 in the morning. I was completely wrong.
Say Cubs on Fridays, I believe, are usually day gamers.
Yes. So yeah, it's 11:20. Wow, bright and early tomorrow. So that will be fun and exciting. So Shug brings up here, what did I do on my days off from baseball? Well, I played NCAA, and if you follow me on Twitch, which is at BrandonBuck88, I did stream myself playing on Monday. It did not go well. I played very poorly. Shug enjoyed it tremendously. because basically he was talking trash in the chat and I was talking with him. And pretty much every time I did, I would throw an interception. So I'm sorry if you're a Arizona State Sun Devil fan. I didn't make them look good. Sorry. I just I did not play very well. So I know Suge enjoyed that very, very much. So that is what I did on my time off. But just one thing that I want to bring up real quick, which Brett didn't know this, but last season after the All-Star break, we lost 20 of 25 after the break. We went 5-20 in that stretch. That I knew we struggled in July and August. I didn't realize it was that bad. So
didn't last year they have
knock on wood that we don't do that again.
Wasn't last year's schedule a little bit tougher? Like I know in the beginning it was talked about the beginning being pretty tough. Maybe I could be mistaken and misremembering it. So if I am, please correct me. Anybody?
It was.
I feel like it's harder than at least what this year's projected because I saw something on the team and their strength of schedule were like the 22nd or the 23rd. So we're pretty like in the bottom 10 for strength of schedule. So it should be a positive thing for, the team. But I mean, I think it could be the same as last year. I don't think they had the toughest schedule, but I think coming out of it, the Blue Jays were a much better team. So the fact that they got the Blue Jays right out of the break when they were already struggling didn't really help. Whereas like the Cubs, I'm not saying the Cubs are a pushover. They're still a major league team. It's still going to be a tough team, but they're not what the Blue Jays were coming out of the break last year, at least.
Yeah. But yeah, we had a period there where we lost 10 in a row. Between August 1st to August 11th, we lost 3 to San Fran, 3 to Minnesota, and 2 to the Dodgers and 1 to San Diego. Like it was bad. Like it was a bad stretch. I just hope we don't do it this year. I don't know what this team like. Toria said that they're gonna come out ready to go tomorrow. So I'm really hoping that's the case. But with this team, you never know. I think it was Josh or Gabe in our group chat thought it was funny to mention National League has 9 hits, but still only scored 3 runs.
What's Gabe?
Like it feels like a very Diamondbacks thing that they did. And what's the common factor? Torey Lovullo was the manager. But no, it's just
fire Torey.
You shut your mouth right now.
Just kidding.
The man took us to. Man is probably the best manager. Yes, I get Bob Brenly brought us a World Series, but after he did that, like he didn't last very long.
There was also a lot of injuries and turnover. Like it wasn't really his fault either.
Yeah.
So
Torey, not serious at all.
Torey for sure is the second best manager in team history. Because I think he has the most wins, right?
Wait, you clearly mean third behind Brenly and then Chip Hale, obviously.
Nope,
right?
nope. I do not.
I'm just kidding.
I'm in saying AJ Hinch ain't to go.
National League didn't win the All-Star game, so he should not have gotten MVP. So
you want him hating? Facts, Bubba, facts.
Yeah, Bubba. So yeah, I just want them to continue the trend that they were on. Yes, I know we lost the last game before the All-Star break, but they had been playing really well like the last couple weeks leading up to it. So I'm hoping we can continue on that trend. They all got their solid rest. I mean, Cattell didn't get as much, but if you noticed, he sat out like a lot of games leading up to that point, and Torey did that on purpose because he wasn't going to get the normal rest as the rest of the team because he had to do all the All-Star game festivities. So
he's also in the Dominican Republic right now, according to his Instagram. So he's
Yeah,
flying
what the
there, then coming back. So I guess he's gonna fly to Chicago.
He's putting that private jet to good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the only time of year where they get enough time off where he can go. Like, yeah, they'll have off days, but it's usually one off day. That's not enough time to fly to the DR from Phoenix and back and be able to do anything. So, yeah, it makes sense that after the game he had 2 days. So he probably went down there and, like you said, he's probably flying to Chicago right now. I wouldn't be
using that
surprised if he's
Ken Kendrick private jet instead of using the Phillies like Mason Miller had to.
yeah,
I don't know if you guys
yeah.
saw that.
That's
I
like
did.
they've done that for like the third or fourth year in a row. Remember a couple years
Yeah,
ago,
he has
Paul
to like
Blackburn
pitch
was
a
the
ride for
A's.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, and like I think the Rangers ended up bringing him, which is like how broke of a fucking. Which there's actually more news about that, which we can share on our Twitter. But there's a little bit of a bombshell that there's rumored of a lot of buyers or multiple big money buyers that are willing to put money into the A's to buy them and keep them in Oakland, but according to the rumors, they just don't want those things to be heard, so they can get Oakland out of or the A's out of Oakland and move them to Vegas. So
it sounds like Manfred just wants them in Vegas.
no,
is
but
what it
we
sounds
still
like.
don't forget Ken Kendrick is still the worst thing to happen to any kind of sports team as an owner ever. That was still a take that was had. Just want that to be
You will
said.
never let that go.
I'm sorry. I'm never letting that take die. Like
No.
that's the dumbest thing ever. I don't care what comments Ken Kendrick has made about a stadium. You can't actively go like he's the worst owner ever when John Fisher lives and breathes as the A's owner.
Yeah, it is pretty bad here. So we're gonna do a quick rundown prediction of just the rest of Major League Baseball here. Really quickly. A lot of these selections were super easy because it's literally a no contest. So we're gonna predict division winners. I chose the Astros. Gabe?
yeah, I chose the Astros too because I know they're still behind the Mariners, but the Mariners are starting to enter their free fall. Like their offense is not good at all. They just have a tremendous pitching that's been keeping them afloat. I believe they're what -30, right? Something like that. Like they are very, very far behind in the run differential. They are not very good. The Astros are starting to chug along. They have, I believe, 10 over 500. They're getting some of their pitchers back. If they're able to get guys like Verlander back, I think it should be kind of a cakewalk for another division title for them.
They're only one game up on the Astros. They were up by like 8 like a week ago.
And they actually they have a better run differential than us.
I think I honestly think at some point they were like 13 behind them.
They were, yeah, but I think they've had a pretty solid stretch of just
Yeah.
like you said. I think their pitching's been keeping them in games like 3-1 the last like month.
Their starting pitching is phenomenal. Like that's why they're in first place. Their offense is not good whatsoever, but their pitching is solid, and their offense only needs to get them 2-3 runs a game because starting pitching gives up 1 a game. So, Brett, and who did you pick for the AL West?
So this one, I don't know if it was me just trying to be, opposite of you two, but I honestly, I think the Mariners I think this might be the year where they keep at it and they hold on to the lead. Like maybe they do make an addition to go get a bat. Maybe they shock somebody and they're the ones that go get Randy Arozarena and they fix him from the Rays. I don't know. Like I feel like it's just that kind of year for them to where the Rangers have been struggling. They're on their World Series hangover. The Astros had such a rough stretch at the beginning, and even if they do get Verlander back, who's to say that he's even close to like he's been kind of struggling in the last few starts before he went on the IL. I think could see them making a move. Maybe even this break was a little bit enough to get their offense, whatever it can be, energized to maybe just at least hold on. Like I don't think it'd be a big division lead. They're opening up the second half at home against Houston. So it'll be a big 3-game series this next weekend. But I think that the Mariners hold on for it.
Moving
What's
on,
the big D-backs? What's the big D-backs Mariners trade this year?
Ooh. Oh man, that's tough. Do they have do we take another one of the relievers and then give them like
left-hander? Do they have a left-hander reliever?
No.
I'm actually checking. I don't think they have one that's like, in my opinion, worth trading for.
Maybe it's like a 3-team. We throw in the Marlins. We get Tanner Scott for our lefty for a bullpen.
Scott, yeah. They can get what's the space? Their third baseman. The Angels' third baseman.
Oh, Rengifo?
Yeah, they can get him. There, we figured it out. Hazen, go get it done.
Make it happen. Give the Marlins like 2 12-packs. Like I said it before, give them like 2 12-packs of Coors Lights and maybe a Taco Bell party pack. I'm pretty sure the Marlins will be like, thank you, anything. please.
So yeah, they only have one lefty on their entire pitching staff, Taylor Saucedo. I mean, he's not bad. 31 games, 2.22 ERA, WHIP at 1.23.
There's no way they get rid of their only lefty then. It definitely would have to be like a 3-team trade. Hey, let's make it happen though. We have good. Maybe this will be the one year where we, as a group with the Mariners, will fleece another team. We take Tanner Scott. They take Jazz Chisholm.
I'm completely okay with that. Moving on to the AL East, I picked the Orioles because I still think they are the best team in the AL. I think they've been the most consistent. Gabe?
Yeah, I agree. I also picked the Orioles. I know they and the oh my god, that Yankees, that last game on Sunday where what's his face just like tripped over his dick or something. Like, oh my god, that was so bad. That was so bad. Like the Yankees are in a complete free fall. Like I can't understand why anybody thinks, that they're gonna do anything, especially when everyone's saying like, oh, they should make moves at the deadline, blah blah blah. I'm like, they don't have much of a farm system, and like I don't think anybody wants to play with the Yankees right now. So I still have the Orioles. The Orioles are a young, exciting team. Hopefully they can at least win one game in the playoffs.
That team is all Judge and Soto. Outside of that, it's a bunch of just mid-average players.
Yeah,
everyone else is very up and down. Like sometimes Volpe will be like their solid number 3. Sometimes you got Verdugo doing it, but like they don't do it consistently. And yeah, we see like in the month of June, Yankees were not very good. So, and speaking of that, Brett, what's your pick?
So this one was definitely more of a, I'm just going to be different. Maybe 3 things. 1, just being different. 2, anytime I root for any team, like whether it's betting or just I'm like, oh, this is what's going to happen. The opposite happens. The universe goes, hey, fuck you, buddy. I'm going to hope that you're upset. And 3, like the homie Shrimpy. I don't want to go against the team.
I assume that's why you picked them.
He wrote the D-backs. I'm going to write the Yankees. It's not just because of that, too. I think that, they were hot at the beginning of the year. They're going through a little bit of a lull. I know they were kind of carried by their starting pitching. That's come back down to earth, especially with like Luis Heels not pitching as well he was in May. Obviously, Cole he's not going to be stretched out yet. Hasn't really been Garrett Cole yet. But I still think that they'll get it clicking. I think they'll make some kind of trade. I know they don't really have too many farm guys, but they at least have some names that they'll trade somebody for. Again, the division, it's a very close division. It's a 1-game thing. So I know the Orioles are a great team. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Orioles won the division. But the Yankees are still a really solid squad. They have, they can just go on a little bit of a hot streak. And when they're hot and they're in Yankee Stadium and you're in a playoff run, even just on TV, that environment gets a little scary. I know that's not going to intimidate too many teams, but I still don't even know, like the Orioles are a young team. If it comes down to a fight for the division with a less than 2-game lead and there's a 3-game series and it's in New York in the Bronx, I'm not saying the Orioles can't handle it. I'm just saying I'd be a little worried.
I would agree with you only if they fire Aaron Boone. If they fire him and bring somebody else,
they would have already won 2 or 3 championships.
I think at that point I would believe that they can take back the division. But right now it's literally just Judge and Soto. Everybody else is like a 700 OPS guy and under. The same thing with the Dodgers. Like it's so top heavy, but like as soon as you get to that bottom half, like it's a lot of trash. And I maintain that Aaron Judge is not a high leverage guy. Like he has runners on base every single time, and unless they're winning by 10, he doesn't do anything. He grounds onto double plays over and over.
That's true.
We'll see. Judge is going to win AL MVP. It's not even close, in my opinion.
Once Shohei left, that was basically just the ticket to all right, Judge, as long as you're healthy and hit 40, 50 homers a year, you're just going to walk away with probably the most American League MVPs in history.
Yeah, moving on to the AL Central. We all picked Guardians because that division is hot trash.
The Twins they're not hot trash, but I think the Guardians have too big of a lead.
It's actually not that
big.
Oh, really?
They also have tremendous pitching. They just have really great pitching right now. They're able to carry the division. The same thing with the Mariners. As long as they just score 3-4 runs a game, their starting pitching and their bullpen just shuts things down.
Are they going to be this year's version of Rangers last year? The Rangers had like a really really high draft pick. They got Wyatt Langford. Everyone's like, oh my God, like they're already a really good team and they just got Wyatt Langford. The Guardians just got their first overall draft pick in franchise history, and they got Travis Bazama, the Australian. That man can hit tanks. You add him
second baseman ever to go number 1 overall.
Which, I mean, if you've seen some of the highlights I've seen, understandable. So
Yeah,
it's kind of
really
crazy
good.
how in back-to-back years we've seen 2 teams from the American League go from picking in like the top like 11 to being top teams.
Yeah. So our document shows one division next. I'm going to skip it and leave it for last. NL East, it's not even close. It's Phillies by a landslide, y'all. Like, if the Phillies have to be like a massive favorite to win the World Series. Like, if they don't, it's like almost big of a choke job, like as the Dodgers had the last couple of seasons, where like they are by far the best team in the regular season, and then they go up against a team with 87 wins and the power of friendship. But yeah, we all picked the Phillies because they're at 8.5, and they have never looked like they were going on any sort of slides. Like it always seems like they're on some sort of winning streak, or like they lose 1, but then they win 3 or 4, and then they lose 1, and then they win 3 and 4 again. So they are playing really, really good right now. They are the best team in Major League Baseball. There's no doubt about that.
Insane, man.
Yeah. And also with the way the Braves have been playing, like their team OPS is something like 750 or 780, like compared to that year. Because Snicker mentioned on the broadcast about it's because the Mets also had like a 10-game lead going into September, I believe, a couple years back, and then they stormed back, won the division, took it from them.
You're right.
But that was a different team. This year, just everybody's on a downslide. Even Olsen. Olsen, just not hitting as good as he was. Like, I know they showed out a little bit against the Dbacks, but I mean, Dbacks could have taken 3 out of 4 easily from them. Fortunately, it didn't happen. But it's just not the same team it was that year. It's it's not a rebuild year, but it's sort of one of those years where they're going to be in between, buying and selling. Just depends on what they do. But I believe they're going to take that top wild card spot no matter what.
Yeah, definitely. Moving to the NL Central, I think the Brewers are the best team in that division. They're the most complete team, in my opinion. The Cubs are a mess. Like, the Cubs have not looked that. Dansby Swanson hasn't looked good. Cody Bellinger hasn't looked good. Reds they're still really young, so I just don't think I don't think they have the pitching yet. And it's interesting. Brewers lose Craig Counsell as their manager. They don't skip a beat. So yeah, my pick's
They're
the
probably
Brewers.
more pissed off because of it.
Yeah. Gabe, what was your pick?
Same thing, Brewers. They just have such a big lead. They're a complete team right now, especially compared to everybody else. Like, if this season ends the way it is, I think the D-backs, they play the Cubs to start off this weekend. If the D-backs dominate the Cubs, like, I know they gave Counsell a $40 million contract, but I can see him being one of the first guys to go, honestly.
And Brett
I'll guarantee
chose to be different again.
This one is more of again, I do agree the Brewers are the best team. Deep down, I think that they are going to win. But the Cardinals' devil magic just will not fucking die. It will not die. There's always a few years every now and then. Dave, like Foolish Baseball mentioned it before. I think even Dalton Feely has mentioned it on a few other podcasts. David Eckstein, back when they went on their, I think, 06 World Series run, whatever it was. David was it David Freese against the Rangers? Like you just
We
always
will
have
see
these,
you tomorrow night. Yeah.
exactly, like you just have these random guys that come out of nowhere that just like carry them to just dominance, and well, not even dominance, just that St. Louis baseball way of just playing really good just ball and just winning. And I don't know. I thought the Brewers had a bigger lead than 4.5, and
Yeah,
just
it's not that much.
seeing the fact that it's 4.5 is, I don't know. I could just see the Cardinals just pulling something out of their ass and just making it happen. They've done it before.
Yeah, the NL wild card is so ridiculous. You have 8 teams all within 4 games of each other. This is crazy. 8 teams for 2 spots.
I think if Goldschmidt and Arenado start pulling their weight, I think I can see them overtaking the Brewers. They just have to do it. And I guess the issue with the Brewers is that, as we saw with Burns and other guys, they're just not willing to pay certain guys. So if it comes to the trade deadline, I can see the Cardinals making more moves than the Brewers.
And that's the thing that worries me is there's so many teams in the race right now. Like we're gonna see what we saw last year, where there weren't a lot of moves made to like 2 hours left, because these teams are waiting to see. Like we're still in it. We can't be buyers, but we don't want to sell away because we still have the last 2 months.
Yeah, this has got to be one of the best years to ever be a seller, like a selling team at the deadline, just because the market's going to be so, like if you have just like the Marlins, you have a good lefty, I promise you're getting maybe not like you're going to get 2 teams like top prospects, but instead of just getting like maybe one like pretty solid prospect or a good one and that being it, you might get 2 or 3 pretty solid prospects, because it's, Dbacks case, like, hey, Dbacks, what do you have to offer me that 7 of the other National League wild card contending teams, or just not even wild card, just 7, 8 other National League contending teams aren't going to try to offer me? Like the Dodgers, the Phillies, they're still obviously looking for areas to improve. They would probably both love to add an arm like him. This is going to be the time where teams separate themselves to really go, hey, you know what? Is it worth fully investing in this probably more increased market when it comes to trades? We'll have to see.
Yeah. Moving on to our division, the NL West. Y'all can take my Dbacks card, fan card, podcast host card, all you want. I picked the Dodgers because even though, yes, they have a lot of injuries right now, they're just better. Like, there's no disputing it. They are better than the Diamondbacks, and I think they're going to hold the lead. I think they're gonna they're gonna make some ridiculous trade that we're all gonna loot, like just be so pissed at. Whether that's Tariq Skubal, maybe even Randy Rosarena. Who knows?
Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert are such Dodgers. It's the most obvious. Yeah. Everyone's gonna think it's gonna be Skubal. Everyone's gonna go on there, and the Dodgers are gonna be, hey, just take like a couple In-N-Out burgers. Here you go. Thank you very much. We will take Luis Robert, even throwing Garrett Crochet.
Yeah. So, Gabe, what was your pick?
Well, the only thing the Dodgers are better at than the D-backs is producing guys who commit domestic battery. But I think I have the D-backs, and the reason why I have the D-backs is because they are weaker, halfway through the lineup. If you compare the lineups, obviously they're very, very top heavy. The Dodgers are. And I feel like the D-backs are more complete. They have more pitching. Even right now, they have more pitching than the Dodgers do. And you're saying that they're going to pull a trade out of their ass with what prospects? All their guys: James Outman, Gavin Lux, Miguel Vargas, freaking what's his name, Pajes. All these guys have been complete trash, and I'm canceled. I'm canceled for saying the truth, for speaking my truth. But it's just, that's why I feel like the D-backs can overtake him. They're 7 games behind them. Dodgers are in a bit of a free fall. They have one of the harder what is it called? The strength of schedules left compared to the D-backs. Have a weaker one. I do believe the D-backs can overtake him, and especially since they have 4 games left against them. I think when they see him again in, I believe, August or September,
That's over Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, so September. So I think that's going to be a fight for the division, and I think the D-backs are going to come away with it. I think they're going to barely squeak it out because we have way more prospects than they do, and our prospect actually pan out unlike the Dodgers have in recent years. I'm looking at you, Stone, and the other guy who has like a 9 ERA, um,
Bobby
and
Miller.
Dustin May. Yeah, and the throat goat, Dustin May.
Oh my gosh, Gabe, you are okay. Brett, who was your pick?
So I put Dodgers. This one again, I think it's just recency bias. It's the little brother being beaten up by the bigger brother for so many years, where it's still just kind of in the back of your brain. You know, last year we got him back. Hey, we got him back last year. Don't get me wrong, we did, but it's still always in the back of my brain. It's the main part. The second part, kind of like with the Yankees, maybe if what I put into the universe, the opposite happens. So maybe I would say, oh, it's going to be the Dodgers winning the division in a landslide, you know? Who knows? Again, not a lot of these divisions are set. Again, it's just out of the All-Star break. No division is ever decided out of the All-Star break. There's some that are very over, at least in the terms of how many games are fully back. But 7 games back for us, 4.5 for the Cardinals and the Brewers. You know, even the Braves, 8.5, they could go and run. I still think that division's technically over, but you never know. Astros won, 4.5 for the Twins, 1 in the East. You never know in baseball. Things are crazy. The Dodgers have had times, I mean, even coming into the All-Star break, they were limping. They're still going to be missing some starting pitchers. They look like they have a MLB The Show simmed into 2035 when it comes to their pitching rotation. Like, I don't know any, like, who are you people? So there's still a very good chance the D-backs can make up a lot of ground. They just, again, they have to show it. They have to prove it.
So Diamondbacks have gained 3 games on the Dodgers in the last 10 games.
Take
Dodgers are 3-7, and we're 6. Like, it's not over. I think this
weekend series is going to be very key because we're facing the Cubs, who are in free fall, and they're facing the Red Sox,
Boston,
I believe, who's a very, very good team this year. They have good pitching, they have a good offense, like especially with the way that their high-powered offense has been clicking on all cylinders this year, and as of late, I feel like it's going to be a lot of beatdowns this weekend on the Dodgers.
If we take a look at both teams' record in 1-run games, Dodgers are 11-11. We're 15-10. So we are winning those close games. So we don't play well against left-handed starters, though. We're 14-19, and they're 25-10. So I thought those were some interesting stats. So yeah, to be honest, just get into the dance. That's all I care about. We saw what happened last year. So just get a playoff spot. You never know what's going to happen. So let's go ahead and move on to the awards. NL Cy Young. I chose to be different on this one because it's pretty obvious who's probably going to get it. I just had to pick someone else. So I went Chris Sale because I think the Braves somehow fixed him or figured out how to keep him healthy. Because I don't think he was bad. He just couldn't get on the field. So I think they were able to figure out what the issue is, and he's been really, really good this season. So, Gabe, your pick for NL Cy Young.
So I do agree with the Sale pick, sort of. My main guy that I truly think will probably win is just Suarez, just because he's very good. But the guy I picked, just to be a little bit different, is Skeens. Now, the issue with Skeens is that he has to reach 162 innings pitched to be eligible for the Cy Young, and right now he's at like 66. So he would have about 13 to 14 starts left in the regular season. And as we've seen, he's averaging 6 2/3 innings per start. So if he's able to put together 6 2/3, 7 innings across these next 12, 13 starts, he probably is going to reach around 160, 165 innings, especially with the strikeout rate that he has. He could end up reaching 200 strikeouts.
Which would be crazy.
Which would be crazy.
165 innings, 200 strikeouts.
And the issue with guys like Wheeler, Wheeler's hurt right now, Suarez. Like I said, I think he's probably the safest pick. but guys like Sanchez and Lopez from the Braves, these are guys who are putting up career numbers this year. They are career four and a half guys. Like they suddenly just have been pitching really well this year. The issue with Sale, I can see him eventually winning it. The main issue with him is just he hasn't pitched over 150 innings since 2018, I believe. Like he has not been able to stay healthy at all. So as soon as he gets 120, 130 innings, I'd be very curious to see where his arm is and how he's feeling, if they're going to shut him down at any point to recover. But yeah, again, the safe pick, Suarez, but I believe in Skeens.
Yeah, Brett, your NL Cy Young?
Yeah, I'm hoping he can get to the inning total, because if he does, and he's just doing what he's doing right now, I don't think you can't pick Paul Skeens. I mean, just from what he's done, 3.2 WAR, baseball reference WAR, 6-0, 1.90 ERA, 66 and a third innings, 89 strikeouts, a .92 WHIP. He's genuinely doing things that you only really see in a Road to the Show. Oh yeah, I get drafted. I throw 102 with like a nasty repertoire. I get drafted in the first round, number 1 overall pick. I start in the All-Star game. It's insane what he's doing. So if he can get to the innings requirement, I think it should be him. But it's going to be a little tough, even with those 13 games going 7 innings. Like that's a lot of mileage. I could see the Pirates still trying, especially if the Pirates aren't in it. I don't see him even hitting that at all. I could see them limiting him to 5, like either an inning limit per game or pitch limit, one of the two, just to kind of keep him fresh. Because he did pitch a lot going from LSU, and then the minors, they kept him. They didn't even let him start the minors right away, and they still only had him throw 2-3 innings a time. So if he doesn't require, or if he doesn't qualify for it, and if Chris Sale can continue what he's doing, I think Chris Sale gets it. I mean, the resurgence, he's one of the main reasons the Braves are still one of the better teams in the league. I know the Phillies are just kind of outshining them because of how good they are, but the Braves are missing a lot of key pieces like Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr. Missing those two is pretty big, and Chris Sale has had a career resurgence there. So where I know it's not the comeback player of the year, I don't think that should factor into who wins the Cy Young. But if he has at least better numbers overall, he's performed the entire season, I think he has a really good case for it, especially no discredit to Wheeler, no discredit to Suarez, or even Christopher Sanchez on the Phillies. All three of those individually are having themselves a case for the Cy Young. I just think that and even I guess Reynaldo Lopez and Fried themselves, so it's not the best comparison, but I think Fried and Ronaldo Lopez's chances at winning a Cy Young versus like a Zach Wheeler and even Ranger Suarez shouldn't be as high. Where Chris Sale, I feel like, is doing a little bit more of the load carrying than Wheeler and some of those other guys are, because they have 2 other studs in the rotation to kind of rely on. Where there's even been sometimes Max Fried gets his tits lit up. We saw the Dbacks do it to him earlier this year. Chris Sale's been pretty consistent all season long.
Even if Skeens doesn't get Cy Young, he's getting Rookie of the Year. So he's going to get an award regardless. He could end up having both. So very interesting. NL MVP, in my opinion, it's weird. He only plays DH, but he's going to win MVP again, and that's Shohei Ohtani. Like, it's not even close. Like, he's hitting for average too. Like, that's what's scary, is that he's just playing overall so well.
Imagine if he could pitch right now.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, I think it's so. Me being selfish because I want to make money. I want it to be Ketel, but we know it's not going to happen. So I think it's going to be Shohei, and I don't think it's going to be. It might be unanimous. It might be. So, Gabe, who's your pick?
I also have Ohtani just because he's just been incredible. He has almost 30 home runs in the season already. But I can see the case for Ketel. He's not too far behind him still in WAR. The issue with Ketel is that he's going to need the typical stats. He's going to need a 300 plus average. He's going to need 30 plus home runs. He's going to need around 100 RBI. I think he can get it if he gets back to the numbers he had in 2019 with the defense. I think he has a really good shot. Issue is small market team, LA. Most writers will watch Dodger games. They won't watch D-backs games. We've seen these national broadcasts. They don't know half the teams. Half the team's names, and you have Bob Costas rooting against them too. So it's just one of those things where I feel just with the hype and his numbers, it might be undeniable that Shohei takes the MVP.
That's fair. Yeah, it's really not. I would have said Mookie had a chance too, but he's hurt, and he's going to be out for a while. So I think that pretty much closed the book on him. Brett, and your pick?
Yeah, it's Shohei. I'm saying I would love. I'm going to be a homer. I'm still hoping Cattell. I still have the hope that if the D-backs can go on a run and secure it, I still think that the team where there's one player that carried a team to the playoffs. I mean, hey, if Andrew McCutchen's here and the Pirates even barely making the playoffs that year, won him the MVP. If Cattell can be even close to the 300 and have some of those other counting stats, and the D-backs make the playoffs, I know it's obviously going to go to Shohei. Like we know it's going to go to Shohei, but I think we know that Cattell put up a really good fight, and it's in our hearts we know, hey, it wasn't actually a unanimous choice. It shouldn't have been, but that's if everything falls into place and the dominoes all go the way we need them to go. Whether we like it or not, dude, I don't know. Shohei's going to win it. What he's doing, even as a DH, I get it, but he's insane. Like Gabe mentioned earlier, without the Dodgers, without Mookie Betts being injured, and then the Dodgers' bottom half of the lineup basically being non-existent, it's almost the same as even Marte having to carry the D-backs in consistent lineup throughout the season. So just with what Ohtani's done numbers-wise, I feel like it's kind of far and away already just decided.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be unanimous unless Philly fans are going to bring up Bryce Harper. But
I mean, yeah, but
thing is, though, like you take Bryce off that team, I still think they're in first place because a lot of them are having really good seasons. It's not just Bryce. Like their pitching is looking very, very good. So, moving on to the AL Cy Young. As of right now, he would be the AL Cy Young for me. That may change in a week and a half because he may not be in the AL anymore, and that's Tariq Skubal.
That's a good point.
So as of right now, yes, I think he's the best pitcher in the American League by far. He should have started the All-Star game. I don't know why he didn't. I don't know if it was a Bruce Bochy veteran thing. So, but yeah, no. Tariq Skubal for me for sure. Gabe?
Yeah, that's kind of why I didn't pick him. I'm going with Corbin Burns because I don't think Skubal's going to stay in the AL. And Corbin Burns has been amazing this year. Just you look at his numbers, he's just as good as he ever was, if not maybe even a little bit better. I feel like when you look up, he's still going to have more innings than Tariq Skubal. He's going to have probably a lower WHIP, lower ERA. Corbin Burns just always seems to get better as the season goes on as well. And with Tariq, as good as he's been so far, he sometimes does have issues towards the second half of the seasons.
Brett, who was your pick?
I was on the same boat with you, Brandon, just going off of what we've seen so far. Plus, I'm still so sad that he's not a Diamondback. I wanted to go Skubal, but just looking at Corbin Burns' stats, it's really hard not to go with him. I mean, 3 B-WAR, 9-4 or 9-4 win-loss on the ERA, 2.43 ERA, 118 innings, 110 strikeouts, a 10.45 WHIP. Just really solid numbers. Even the guy that they traded to the Brewers, I know it's very small sample size. You can't even measure a trade 1 year, but DL Hall, he's got a negative .4 WAR for the Brewers, a 7.71 ERA in 16 innings. So that's kind of the, hey, sometimes you got a really young, exciting arm that could be a good starting pitcher, and you got an established ace that you could, replace it with. The Orioles did that. They're seeing the dividends from it, and I'm kind of, I think Gabe swayed me, especially after looking at the odds. Like, it's Corbin Burns, Logan Gilbert, again, a really good pitcher for the Mariners, but with the Orioles still being one of the top teams in the American League, I think just being a top team in general kind of gives you an extra step above, to where if you're a pitcher on a top team, then it's almost like, hey, as long as you don't shit the bed the rest of the way, like we saw sadly with Zach Gallen last year in some of his starts, as long as you don't shit the bed, it's pretty much yours. So Corbin Burns can basically cruise. And again, this is if Tariq Skubal is traded, if the package to somewhere, what if he's traded to the Orioles? There's been some rumors with Jackson Holiday. That'll be interesting.
There's no way they trade Jackson Holiday.
Oh no, I don't think so. But still, maybe there's other prospects, Kobe Mayo, other guys they could move for him. So Skubal's not guaranteed to go out of the AL. So if he does go to the Orioles, it'll be kind of interesting. Or if he stays in the AL, it will be interesting to see the race down the stretch. But if he's shipped out of there to some NL contender, I think Corbin Burns basically just won it.
Yeah, don't doubt that whatsoever. We kind of already discussed it because it's basically gift wrapped for him for the next who knows how many years. AL MVP Aaron Judge. You could bring up Gunnar Henderson. Gunner's had a really good year. But if you take a look at 2022 was the season where Judge set the Yankee home run record. He's on a better pace this season to break that than he did that season. So I think I'm curious if
he has a 207 OPS, by the way, or OPS plus.
yeah. It is nasty, ladies and gentlemen. It is disgusting.
Oh,
I'm wondering if some voters may, basically whoever wins the AL East, they might give it to that. So if the Orioles win, they give it to Gunnar, which would be crazy. Year 1, Rookie of the Year. Year 2, MVP.
That's what Corbin should have been. God damn it.
Yeah. And if the Yankees win, then it's probably going to be Judge. I think that's what it's going to come down to, unless Judge continues this ridiculous pace. And Gunnar, his home runs, he doesn't keep up that pace, then, yeah, it's probably going to be Judge for me. Gabe, what's your pick for AL MVP?
Yeah, I also have Judge just because his stats are ridiculous. If he keeps up this pace, he's going to win the Triple Crown. And it's, as we saw with Miguel Cabrera, if you get that Triple Crown, it's very, very hard to say otherwise. As great as Gunnar Henderson has been, he's a great defender, but Judge is even just playing decent offense in the outfield with those stats that he has with the Triple Crown inside for him. 11, 12 OPS. It's just ridiculous what he's doing. He has almost 100, 200 points higher of an OPS, 150 points higher, 70 points than Gunnar Henderson. He has more home runs, more RBI. It's just Judge just does it all. He's an incredible player. He is a couple seasons away from probably cementing his Hall of Fame status. And he's a Yankee.
47.8 WAR. B-WAR.
I don't know if he's gonna get Triple Crown unless Stephen Kwan just falls off or misses
is
some
he
time.
Qualified?
He is now. He qualified last week.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
but he's still in Triple Crown watch. You can't say that about Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, he's at 306 right now, which is really good for there's not a lot of sluggers that you see, guys that have that high OPS. You don't see that their average is that high. A lot of them, it's homer. They have so many homers. But he also walks a lot. His on base is 433. Because teams are so scared to pitch him, pitch around him. Because I'm positive Soto is in front of him. If Soto was behind him, I don't know if they would pitch around Judge. because then what do you do to Soto? Do you pitch around Soto, pitch around both of them, and just hope that whoever's behind them, Verdugo or Volpe, does it? I don't know. Brett, what's your pick?
Say this one. I think the argument I was trying to make about like Cattell, Otani, one of them having more help. I think it fits better with this case. Like the Orioles are just a more well-rounded team, offensively, rotation-wise, everything. Like there's Gunnar Henderson's having an amazing year. I don't want to discredit him at all. He's still hitting 286, 373 on base, 584 slugging, 956 OPS, 174 OPS plus, 6.3 WAR. He's amazing season. But like you guys were talking about, like Judge the slugging, 50 more points than on base. His OPS plus is insane. The fact that he's still hitting over 300 and his average is great. And he's doing it with basically the same bottom half of the lineup that the Dodgers have, if maybe not worse, where you're not getting much run production, where his numbers would probably be even better if he's getting more at-bats per game, more runners on base in front of him from the bottom of the lineup, like up there for him. He could possibly have a higher average and be closer to a triple dude, I can't speak anymore. Triple Crown watch. Thank you very much, Brain. It's my Friday. So I still think it's Judge, but I think you have a great point, Brandon, or maybe it was Gabe. Whoever wins the division, I think will probably maybe earn more votes. Like if the Orioles win, I could still see Judge winning the MVP, but it not being unanimous. It might be close.
Yeah. I
versus
think
if the Yankees win the division, I think Judge is a unanimous MVP, 100%.
Because I believe they vote in like it's either early September or the middle of September.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think they try to let the division winners impact their votes.
I mean, it shouldn't, but some of them
we know
it does. I just want to give we're not going to go over the other ones like person by person. Just final thoughts on awards. Stephen Vogt, I think, is AL Manager of the Year. Like, Cleveland would have to completely fall off for him to not win that. Like, what he's done in his first season, phenomenal. Former D-back, by the way. So, I think it's his to lose. So, Gabe, are there any other awards you want to just give your quick thoughts on?
I mean, if we're gonna look at some of the managers, probably like Pat Murphy or something, taking over a team like the Brewers, who didn't have too many expectations, especially losing their star pitcher in Corbin Burns, getting rid of their probably Hall of Fame manager in Craig Counsell, and yet they're still there. They're probably going to win the division. We'll see if they're able to pull away. I think it's probably Pat Murphy's.
I mean, also, they lost Brandon Woodruff due to injury as well. So, like, there wasn't a lot.
They also don't have Devin Williams back yet. He's still hurt.
So, I could see that. Philly fans will obviously go with their guy. Philly fans are a very vocal group, as we saw from the All-Star Game voting.
I think they can at least admit, like, don't get me wrong, like Rob Thompson he's managing the team, he's still doing a good job. But they're a team that they were in the World Series 2 years ago. They were in the NLCS last year. To me, this isn't too unexpected. Like maybe them being this good, yeah. Like kind of a shock, but that doesn't give me Manager of the Year. Like I think Gabe hit it right in the head. Like Pat Murphy is, in my opinion, got to be the lead for NL Manager of the Year. Like taking right over for Craig Counsell, being probably one of the top, I don't know, maybe not top teams in the NL or baseball, but one of the top teams in the NL. Just really solid. Like they got some energy. Christian Yelich is slugging again. It looks like he could be back to his old self. I definitely think that he at least has a foot up over Rob Thompson. Just the fact of, again, less expectations. I don't think anybody expected them to be, as good as they have been. But Rob Thompson will still probably get some credit for it, just because when you're the best team in the National League, usually you do get at least some votes. But Skip Shoemaker won it last year, and the Marlins didn't make the playoffs, but
they did actually.
I said they did make the playoffs, but I mean, that's where if the Brewers make it this year, which it looks like they're on track to, I definitely think that he should 100% be unanimous. Like, there's nobody else, in my opinion, that deserves it more than him.
Yeah. One other thing I want to go over real quick, only because I'm biased, because I placed money on it. I placed money on Jackson Merrill for NL Rookie of the Year at the start of the year. I still think he has a good shot at it. If Skeens doesn't get to the 165 innings, if he doesn't meet the threshold, it is hit. It is Jackson Merrill. So, I'm not gonna root for him, Paul Skeens, to not do it because, thank you, sir, Hamo. We appreciate that very much. Do they wanna, like, as the Pirates for their long-term future, do you want to risk having him throw too much in, like, literally half a season? Especially, like, if they're in the wild card hunt there in September, yes, have him go as many innings each start as he can. But if they're, like, September 1st, they're 4 or 5 games out of the wild card, maybe not have him go 7 innings. Maybe have him go 5 or 6.
I think the issue with that is just the fact that he keeps his pitch count low. He's not like Strider, who's out in 5 innings because he has 100 pitches. He, when he had the no hitter going, he went 7 innings. He had 99 pitches. He didn't even reach 100. So he, in most of his starts, he's pitching 6.5 to 7 innings. It's just he's able to get the job done and strike out a whole bunch of guys. Keeping it under 100 pitches, and I think that's mostly what the Pirates are focusing on because in the minors it was the same thing. It was either like 80 pitches or 4 innings, and I think right now they're probably keeping him to the 100 pitch limit. I mean, why not just let him show what he has? Because they saved up his arm all season. They didn't put him on the starting on the main roster, which he probably should have started the season with them. He didn't. So I think, I believe he. Oh man, would he still have eligibility? I guess he's a Rookie of the Year. I mean, to keep him like for 6 more years.
Oh yeah. Well, do you earn
service time?
It's really a little different with pitchers because it's 2 weeks. If he was on the roster 2 weeks after the beginning of the season, he wouldn't be. But just because he's a starting pitcher, I don't know how that would work if they would keep him under, let's say, 100 innings or something like that. Because I know there was that weird issue with Gabby Moreno where he didn't qualify for, or it's 150 days.
He had like right? I think a few. It's either a certain amount of days, I believe, on the 40-man or maybe not 40-man. I think it's a certain amount of days on the major league roster or a certain amount of at-bats. And I believe Gabby had it was a number of days because he didn't have enough at-bats, but I think it was one of those where the Blue Jays called him up and they basically just put him on the bench where he got MLB service time, but he didn't actually get the at-bats for it. So that's why, because I was confused myself. I was like, he doesn't have enough at bats to qualify for it, but I think he was in enough games, quote unquote, where he was on the roster for it when it started and ended. So to piggyback on the Merrill thing, Brandon, because I know you asked, it's pretty much set for Skeens. I agree. I think Paul Skeens, especially as long as he doesn't, fumble the bag the rest of the way. But with those points that you're bringing up with the potential innings limit and pitch limit and all that, who knows what they're going to do. The Padres are still in the thick of things. They're basically in the same spot as us in the division. I know Brandon, you are a Padres fan as well, but so like I'm just hoping if they can be the one that doesn't go on the run and the Dbacks do, I'd love it. But if they can still, if they can stay in the thick of things and sneak into the playoffs, especially with Fernando Tatis missing as much time as he has and Merrill's still contributing, I think he has a really good case to at least make it a close race again. With all things going down, because I looked up his stats here.
He had like 10 home runs in the month of June. It was insane.
Yeah, so he's been having an insane, like a 1.9 WAR. He's got a 278 batting average, 310 on base, 435 slug. He's got a positive OPS plus, 745 OPS. So again, there's not really like too much. I think it's most of the on base because the on base seems like 310 pretty low, but he's still really solid. And then one quick final note on the American League Rookie of the Year, it's going to be a little tough. I know the favorite right now is Wyatt Langford. I still think Mason Miller is going to be the one that kind of everyone goes to just because he's the name everyone knows. Luis Gil's kind of
But
blown
will
up.
he be in the American League after August 1st?
I don't see the A's trading a guy like with that much control just yet. I could see them waiting one more season, getting like another full, hey, let this dude have offseason because they could get a better trade in the offseason. I don't see them shipping him at the deadline this year just because of how much service time he has. I don't see them fully doing that. But I mean, again, who knows?
It's just for a team like the A's, having an elite closer doesn't really do much for you. But he's so young. Like, there's no reason. Like, if you're truly serious about rebuilding, you keep him.
To me, if anything, I feel like it's smarter to keep a guy like that you know has years, you know is like an elite closer, because it gives you that, like we've seen with Dbacks games, it's that peace of mind of, hey, you're not always going to have the Dodgers or the Yankees lineup or like some of these teams that are putting up like 8 runs a game. You're not going to have the Phillies starting pitching where they're going to be having a mid-2 ERA all the time. Sometimes you're going to need to win these 3-1 games against the Braves, 3-1
Phillies that they just swept the Phillies.
Exactly. Like sometimes like just having that dude that can get you those outs could give that team that, those young guys that like that edge of, hey, we just got to get a few, man. Like we don't need to have we don't got to have the oh shit feeling of, oh, we got to make sure we have big enough cushion. No, that's the feeling of, we just need one. We just need a lead and this is over. Like to me, that's the kind of like confidence that a guy like Mason Miller gives you, especially knowing you have him for multiple years. It's not like a closer that's like, even Paul Sewald, I love him. I'm not even trying to discredit him in anything, but he is still more on the other end of the career when it comes to ages for relievers, and he's found himself in the later end. Mason Miller's establishing himself when he's young. This is completely different. Like this dude, this is a guy that you don't trade unless you get that like elite package for it, and I don't see a team giving up an elite package at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I wouldn't make that move. So, but we're literally 12 hours away from first pitch for the second half starting. Series against the Cubs. All I say is just continue to do what you've been doing. Win the series. Win the 3-game series. Take 2 or 3. We got Gallen and Fott starting Saturday and Sunday. We got Ryan Nelson tomorrow. It is a road game for Ryan Nelson. Ryan Nelson has looked pretty good lately. So I think there's a good chance we could see a sweep.
Ooh, I don't know, man. Imanaga, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be a tough one. I mean, I believe
they don't have a good bullpen either, so
true.
Like their offense helps much. So I expect 2 out of 3. I can foresee 3 out of 3, especially with the way they kind of just undressed them last year. Was it almost like 8 games in a row that they beat them? Like it was just disgusting. I feel like they can do the same thing to them again this year. Again, Dodgers facing against the Red Sox. They lose 2-3. D-backs win 3 of 3 or 2 of 3. You're talking about being 4 games behind the Dodgers for the division. So it's a very, very exciting weekend to start off the second half of the season, and I'm ready for it.
Make sure to go follow us on Twitter. We are very active during games. So it's always a fun experience.
Congrats to Alec as well, by the way.
Yes. Congrats to our young king. He now has his queen. I mean, we all knew it was going to happen eventually. Like,
it's just official now.
Yeah. So congrats there to Alec. Very excited for him.
Someone check on Corbin Carroll.
His boyfriend is off the market.
Thanks for joining us here on Dbacks Dispatch. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. Give us a follow on Twitter at Dbacks Dispatch, and check us out on all audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave a review if you like what you hear. We will see you all next time.